Assalamualaikum and hello, I'm Siti Azzila Amit. I'm presenting the factors affecting leisure reading habits among people in a rural school in Sarawak. So this is our abstract, the benefits of leisure reading, the challenges, the aim of the study, the model, the theory, the number of the participants, data collection methods, the data analysis, the finding as well as the implication of the research are discussed in this abstract. Keywords are leisure reading, reading motivation, rural school, English as a foreign language. Introduction. Reading is beneficial to increase children's vocabulary and sentence construction, which can help them in other communication skills such as writing and speaking. Reading is indeed a complex skill. Many people in Malaysia are still struggling in reading, particularly in English, especially in rural area. This is due to English as a second language in Malaysia and also foreign language in rural school, particularly in Sarawak. This is because English is only used in the classroom and doesn't serve purpose in their daily life activities. Hence, leisure reading habits among children had declined. There is also a limited number of study in leisure reading habits, especially leisure reading habits among people in rural Sarawak, in rural school. Hence, this research conducted to understand the factors affecting leisure reading habits among people in rural school Sarawak. Leisure reading habits. Leisure reading habits is a voluntary reading during free time for the purpose of pleasure. In this study, leisure reading is the act of reading for pleasure during free time. Why leisure reading is focused in this research? It is one of the ways to promote positive impact on pupils' academic performance. Leisure reading habits among young children also had declined. The time spent by them to read during leisure also very short. The purpose of reading for pleasure, especially during leisure time, is also declining. Due to that, this research is conducted to understand the factors affecting leisure reading habits among children, particularly in rural Sarawak, in order to increase their leisure reading habits. Reading is influenced by motivation. In cornerstone concept in attitudes influence upon reading and learning to read, reading motivation is determined by three determinants, which are value, goals, and self-concept. In Self-Determination Theory by Ryan and Deci 2000, there are three basic needs that need to be satisfied. They are competence, autonomy, and relatedness. Next, result. The data obtained from the interviews indicate 5 factors affecting respondents' leisure reading habits. They are reading comprehension skill, self-satisfaction, teacher encouragement, peer influence, and parents' involvement. The first factor, reading comprehension skill. In this study, the researcher found out that respondents with higher comprehension skill, who are average students, were more motivated to read than respondents with lower comprehension skill, below average students. Based on table 6.1 focus group interview with group 1, they are not interested to read, only read sometimes, prefer book with less number of words, and prefer books in Malay language. This is due to Malay language is closer to their mother tongue because all of the respondents are Iban language. So it's easier for them to understand the books in Malay. However, respondents with higher proficiency level in English were more interested and motivated to read. For example, P4, even though there are limited number of available reading material, she is willing to read any types of material available, including textbook. For P6, she loved to read magazine on her favorite celebrity. P7 stated that she loved reading simple books, and P9 stated that reading made her happy. In the teacher individual interview, the teacher stated that people were reluctant to read because they did not understand the text they read. And he also mentioned that people lack the motivation to read due to the facts that they value reading less. The second factor is self-satisfaction. Curiosity and self-interest are additional factors that motivates respondents to do leisure reading. The respondent reading the books because they were curious about illustration and the storyline. For example, P1 stated that he liked to read during his leisure time because he liked the picture in the books and the storyline. P4 stated that she liked the book that had the element of fantasy. And P6 stated that the books must have the sense of humor and the magazine on her favorite celebrity. And P10 stated that she loved new books and she loved the book that with elements of fantasy. In the interview with the teacher, he also stated that the teacher should able to attract people to read by providing with suitable reading materials that related to their interests. He also added that he was able to attract one of the people to read by providing him with the book that he liked. The third factor is teacher encouragement. The finding shows that teacher had vital role to motivate respondents to do leisure reading by providing with suitable reading materials and help them to understand the story they read. For example, P2 stated that the teacher helped him to choose suitable books to read, and the teacher also helped him to read and understand the story that they read. P3 also stated the same thing, where he said that teacher provide him with a book to read for a week and help him to understand the story. In teacher individual interview also, teacher mentioned that when he mentioned about going to the library, people would feel excited, and he added that people were excited when they were allowed to read the book he brought to the classroom after they finished their work. He also agreed that it is important for a teacher to encourage people to read. The fourth factor is peer influence. The finding also showed that peer influence did influence respondents to read. To mature share reading, respondents are able to motivate one another to read. They also like to discuss the book they read and suggest the book to others. For example, P7 stated that she read books with her friend and suggested the books they read to other respondents and other pupils. In the teacher individual interview, the teacher also mentioned that people enjoy reading when they were reading with their friends, and he added that the people would share and discuss about the book they read and try to understand the meaning of the story. The fifth factor is parents' involvement. The finding indicates that parents did play a vital role to motivate respondents to read. The parents also provide pupils with reading material. For example, P6 stated that her parents frequently bought her books, and P9 stated that her mother always brought her to the bookshop to buy storybook that she liked. In teacher individual interview, the teacher also stated that the person who was best to influence people's leisure reading habits is the parents. This is because he stated that people usually forget what they learned after a long holiday. Therefore, home learning or home reading was important to reinforce people's memory in their learning. So, next discussion. In this discussion, there are 3 points that I would like to elaborate. The first point is people with high comprehension skill are more interested to do leisure reading. This is because they have satisfied the needs for competence and they are able to accomplish the reading task successfully as compared to struggle reader. Therefore, as children, they should increase their competence in order to enjoy reading. they also need help from their teacher and their friends and also their teacher in order to increase their competence, so they are interested to read. The people with high competence also have high self-concept because they view themselves as positive, which lead them to the high self-concept. They are more confident in their reading. The second point is people are motivated to read if it suits their interests. This is because they need to have the autonomy in their reading. People have control toward their reading and able to choose their reading material based on their preference are more motivated to read because they have the autonomy. And they also need to have goal. They need to have the goal in order to read. Their personal goal will lead to positive attitudes toward reading. Children that have the autonomy and goal in their reading will read more compared to those who doesn't have the autonomy or control reader and doesn't have goal in their reading. Therefore, as a students, they need to have their own goal, and also if they have their goal, so they have the autonomy to choose their own reading materials. The third point that I would like to discuss is people's surrounding does affect their leisure reading habits. This is because they have their relatedness needs satisfied. They had received support from teachers, friends, and the parents. From this research, we can see they receive their supports and they have the value. Reading motivation could be influenced by reading value held by the children within the family or the society. If you can see in this research that the teacher give the children to the material to read and help them to understand, so the teacher value the reading, so the children also value the reading. Children will value leisure reading when the parents value leisure reading too. For example, in this research, you can see that the parents are trying to provide the children with books and bring them to the bookshop so that they are able to choose their reading. So it's related to the previous points that they have the autonomy. So as a children, they need to have their competence and autonomy, and also have the supports from the teacher and the parents and also their friends in order to enjoy reading. So now, next conclusions. Based on this finding, is hope that the teacher, parents, and policymakers should play more active role to encourage leisure reading among young children. There are various programs that should be implemented to increase reading motivation, such as reading is the heartbeat of knowledge, which is also known as NILAM, that could inculcate leisure reading habits among children. Secondly, concept-oriented reading instruction, CORI, to increase children reading motivation and comprehension. For the suggestion for further studies, there are two suggestions. The first suggestion is the research should focus on one of the suggested programs, NILAM or CORI, that promote leisure reading, so that the research is more focused and be able to know the effects of programs on leisure reading habits among children. The research also should integrate more instruments so that the data more diverse and gather different perception from various possible angles. So that's all from me. Thank you for listening.